Be Better, episode 39. Back in the studio with Jacob.w.ross, the boss from St. Charles. That didn't rhyme. I was looking for something. I wasn't going to find it.
It was close.
Had about a week or two hiatus. Was supposed to get one done with my brother, owner of Sub-Zero, who's a sponsor of the show. But Christmas, as normal, is just kind of a shit show with trying to do stuff and a million people in the house and sneaking a podcast, and it didn't really happen. And then Jacob's life is the busiest in December. Your life is, that's the busiest. You have like 10 different events in 2 weeks. So
Yep.
Glad we snuck one in before our squats tonight. Get our mind right before this is the last podcast of the year.
Wow.
Yeah.
No more.
So next podcast will be next year.
Well, looking forward to it. It's been a good year.
It's been a good year. Great year.
39 episodes in a year.
That was pretty good. We started about May.
I don't know. I really don't know. It's
April?
a good question. Yeah, somewhere in there.
Because we only missed like a few weeks. Probably
Yeah.
3 weeks I missed this total. So maybe, half the year would be what? 27 weeks. So, probably spring we started this. So, cruising right along. Trying to get good info out to you guys.
And I haven't helped you. You know, I was gone,
Well, you were gone.
like 8 or 9 weeks.
Yeah.
10, maybe 10 since we started this thing.
Yeah, that's true. That didn't help. But we knew that going into this, that if I had to take over, and everything's at my house.
Yeah, but
So
I mean,
it's easier.
you know, look, even if it's an every other week cadence, I think that's okay too at the end of the day.
As long as we want good info. I don't want to sit on here and ramble
Right.
just to get something out. Like, ideally, it's once a week, but if it's not, at least it's, when it is out, it's good information, it's quality, maybe someone else's perspective or our perspective on different things rather than just rambling about training. Like, training's fun. I like it, but talking about it nonstop and podcasts that talk about training, it's just like...
Yeah, you get a little overtrained.
I like to get in the gym and get out of the gym, and I don't really talk about the gym.
Yeah, you get a little overtrained on the training talk.
Yeah, that's what the only training I believe in is talking about training after you get done training.
There we
Too
go.
much. So
Well, I am ready for our topic for today.
we don't have a topic.
Oh, we've got a topic.
What is it?
We are going to kick off the new year right. We are going to help you reprioritize and categorize, now that rhymed, your life.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So I was learning a little something, and one of the things that I learned, I think it's learned.
Learnedest.
Was this idea about just making a simple 4-square grid about your life, anything that could happen upon your day or things that you have to take care of. And then you just kind of make it so that, above one square is urgent, not urgent, and the other one is, important and then not important.
That's the 4 squares.
4 squares. So above the first two, it's, urgent, not urgent, and then going down the other side of it, right, important, not important. So Q1 would be urgent and important, right?
Okay.
Q2 would be not urgent but important. Q3 would be important but not urgent, right? And then Q4 would be not urgent, not important. Okay?
Got it.
So we'll do a little exercise here and think about it. How much of your life do you live in each square? So again, one more time. Q1 is urgent and important.
Yep.
Q2 is important but not urgent.
Yep.
Q3 is urgent but not important. And then Q4 is obviously none of the above, not urgent, not important. Where do you think most of your day is spent?
Probably, since I'm an impatient person, I probably think things are more urgent, but they might not be that important.
Okay.
When it comes to anything work-wise, there's usually always a time frame on it, and it is important. So I would say urgent and important.
So you're in Q1.
Q1.
Yeah.
Yeah,
most
for
of the
work
time.
stuff.
Sure.
For personal, Q2, right?
That
it's
would
urgent,
be
but no, wait. It's urgent. No, I would say it's important, but might not be urgent. But I might think it's Q1 because I'm impatient.
Yeah.
And most things that I do it because it's important.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't do anything that's not important.
Gotcha.
Unless it's like, I guess Q4 would be like, hey, you got to go to the bar with some buddies.
Correct.
Not that important.
Not
maybe
urgent.
maybe a tiny bit. Probably not that urgent. That's why I
No.
don't do it that often, and we don't do it that often because
Right.
it's just gotta get up early. Like, there's a, we've talked about that before, so it's more probably that would probably fall into the Q4.
Gotcha. I was learning about this. I forget which president it was, but there was basically a president, and somebody will probably, message us and say who it is right away. It slipped my mind. I don't have it on me, the chart. But basically there was a president who tried to make decisions about his life based on this. And he tried to live in Q2 as much as possible. Now, clearly, when you're the president, there's going to be a lot of things that fall in that Q1, urgent and important. But try to do as much things as possible as in not urgent but important, because his theory was that a lot of times lack of planning and organization, lack of communication, pushes things into Q1 that don't need to be there. And when you live in Q1 constantly, that's a very high stress place to live.
Chaos.
And that's where sometimes you don't do the best work. Maybe you don't do the most productive work. And for sure, you don't do it in the best way. And that doesn't even mean the quality of the work. That could be that who you do it with, you didn't communicate well with them, you didn't play well with them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And basically, as I was reading through this, they were trying to push into modern day life. And like, how much of your day do you end up, allowing to be in Q1? Now, again, with your job, you have things that you don't have a choice. You're told Q1, like this is urgent and important right now. But this is kind of more for just things that you're working on. And basically, the thought exercise that I had to go through as I was reading about this was, how many things could you move to Q2 with a little bit better communication and then a little bit more planning? Basically.
Yeah, I was gonna say planning would decrease the urgency, but not the importance.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's what, like, we're pretty good at, I would say, staying in Q2, like I kind of said before after you kind of explained it better. Just because Amber, like, today she erased the schedule and then writes on the new schedule, that's what we're doing. What are we doing today? Okay, I'm like, I get to podcast with Jacob, then I have to train, then maybe we're going out, maybe, I don't know. Tomorrow we're going to do a movie. Sunday we're doing this. Monday, we plan everything based on importancy and then figure out what, things line up at the same time, what's more important. But that's kind of how we schedule our lives, because for the majority of years we had miscommunication or no communication, where I just figured she knows I'm squatting at 4. I don't even have to tell her. But sometimes I squat at 7:30. So It's like, well, you should know that I changed it because of X. So, but the more communication, I agree, the more it's less argument. Things go smoother. Things are planned. I'm not a planner, but I married one, so it makes it easier for me. I just got to inform her, and then she does the planning. Yeah. Which is nice.
Well, and also I think one of the worst places to be stuck into is Q3, which would be the not important but urgent, and that happens a lot. I think when you don't plan, things that aren't important get pushed in front of you as urgent, and now you have to take care of it or you have to do it, and you're like, wait a second, like this doesn't have to be done right now. You know what I mean? In any way, shape, or form. But basically they were just saying, like, a lot of it too is how you communicate with others. A lot of times you allow other people to push things into your kind of Q1 where they think it's urgent for you, right?
Yep.
And because you haven't communicated well with them about your expectations and how you want things to work, you are allowing yourself to get pushed into that.
Yeah.
And with a little bit better communication, you can kind of push yourself back out of that and kind of live in that Q2. And then the other interesting thing was, like, are you allowing enough space in your life to allow for Q1 things? So if you kind of maximize your schedule and your efficiency, and you're living in Q2 where everything you're doing is not urgent but it's important, right? I think that's where most people would feel the best. You're doing important things, but it's not like it has to be done this next hour or this next day.
Yep.
You're just kind of ahead of the curve and everything's gravy. But things are always going to come up, right? But do you have enough capacity to allow for things to get pushed into Q1? And I think that's personally a problem that I run into a lot, where something will come up and it's urgent and it is important, it needs to be taken care of, but I haven't allowed enough time in my schedule for me to really take care of that well. So then I end up doing, for lack of a better word, a shitty job, whether that be the actual work that I do or how I handle it. Either way, because I didn't allow time in my schedule for that kind of thing to happen, because I keep living in everything's in Q1.
Yeah, and I can't, and that probably would lead you to rush, stress, not be. If I'm rushed at all, forget it.
Yeah,
I get so aggravated. Like, if I have to rush to do anything, I'm like, nope, I'm not rushing to do this, because maybe it'll take me 2 minutes longer. And I'm the most impatient person in the world, but I know that if I get rushed to do something, it's going to be a shitty job, a shitty whatever. The end result is going to be it's going to be a shitty attitude throughout the whole thing, or the end result is garbage.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I knew this was going to happen. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have rushed me. Like,
Yeah.
I hate being rushed. But yeah, I think the more planning you have, the more you allow the Q1 in life to happen and happen well. Like I was telling you about my dog the other day. She got a cut on the inside of her leg, gash about an inch long. I was going to super glue it together, but she wasn't letting me get near it. Like she was pretty pissed. So it's like we had a million things going on, and I had to drop everything because it was urgent and important.
Yep.
Take her to the vet, drop her off, get her stitched up, bring her back, handle all this because Amber already made plans. She was freaking out. But like you think in those Q1 situations, if it's like something like the dog, where like if I have to rush, I'm good. I can handle it. Nothing's going to be shitty about it. Sometimes in those situations, I know there's like a switch I could flip to where I can handle everything. And that's what happened like a week ago. I was able just to handle everything. I called 4 different vets, got one in, got her in immediately, took care of it, took the girls with me. Amber could do her own thing. And it actually did go smooth because she had already planned all her stuff for the day. And then that allowed me to be a little bit freer I was a little free. I didn't think I was going to be taking a dog to a vet and getting stitched up all night, but I was able to handle it because it was important and it was urgent. And it's like, kind of like a family member. You drop everything and you go. So sometimes in the situations, that good planning, or shouldn't I say, always, if you have good planning, you can allow for that Q1. And depending on the emergency, I think it can be handled less shitty than I normally would.
Yeah.
Rather than like, let's get out the door and get to the movie. I'm like, oh God, I have to rush to get the girls right. Like that's a different kind of probably urgent, high urgent, not important. But I think when you have that high urgency, high importance, I tend to handle it a little bit better than, let's just say, my wife, just because I know we've been through it. I'm like, I got this.
Yeah.
So why are you freaking out? I'm like, what? Is me yelling and freaking out going to make this dog stop bleeding?
Right.
No, it's all right. I'll make some phone calls. We step in their room for 5 minutes, figure it out. Okay, bye. All right, I'm on my way. Bring the girls. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, but it's like, let's just say though, you weren't as efficient as you are now, and you have to go deal with the dog stuff, or I don't know however many hours it takes you to do it, and then you come back and you have 10 programs to write, and it's Christmas and your whole family's here, and now you're not sleep. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the other side of it in terms of allowing capacity for things. And I think for me, because I'm such a what's in my face now. Like I really live in that Q1 quite a bit. And part of that is because I have different things going on, and I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying that like my attention can get pulled in a lot of different places within a day. Literally, like from I can get pulled to an Africa conversation, I can get pulled to a training conversation, I can get pulled to a, whatever. And because of that, I've kind of almost allowed myself to almost be like a dog, like as opposed to saying, like, looking down at my week and saying, how can I budget my time better? How can I really do a good job of saying, you know what, I'm going to try to do programming like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and not and allow time during the actual, majority of the quote unquote work week, which is when I do a lot of the nonprofit stuff and I have calls and meetings and all that, that if that stuff, not even goes sideways, just picks up or whatever, that I have capacity there. And it's not even on the work side. It's also on the friend side. Like, thankfully, I have really, good friends. Don't have a lot of friends, and that's okay. Ron Swanson says in his Pyramid of Greatness, if you ever watch Parks and Rec, under the friendship category, he says 3 is sufficient. Which I think is pretty funny.
It's probably close.
Yeah, probably close. But the point being is, like, I'm thankful that the friends that I do have are all highly independent, self-starters. They take care of their stuff. They handle it. I don't get a lot of calls of this like BS, like, oh, I don't know what to do, or I don't get a lot of that. But it doesn't always have to be a terrible situation where you need to be a good friend. Sometimes it is. You need to go hang out. Just hang out. Just you need to make time for that. And like you said, it's not urgent, but if you go long enough, it kind of becomes urgent in a way. But again, if you haven't really allowed or planned yourself some capacity in that, then it's hard to take that time.
Yeah.
Because then you're your wife's looking and saying, well, we haven't been on a date. And then your kids are looking and saying, you haven't played with me.
Yeah.
And your body's looking at you and saying, well, you haven't slept either. And you kind of on all fronts, everyone's like, hey, I'm Q1 right now.
Yep.
Because you just allowed yourself to live in that for too long. So anyway, I just thought it was really interesting as I was reading through it. It made me think, different things click with different people, right? When I was reading this, I'm like, man, that really clicked well with me in terms of thinking about how to organize my life and where do I allow things to get pushed and what can I do to be better about that for next year.
Yeah, that's interesting. Good topic. We'll switch gears a little bit, and new year, new Jacob doing a bodybuilding show in the spring, early summer.
Yeah, April, I think 19th, I believe.
What brought that on? So well, okay, first, New Year's resolution. Is it a bodybuilding show? Is that your only one? Is there other things you've thought of, or just, what? I know for sure I'm doing this in the new year.
No, I mean, I've wanted to do it. So last December, so over a year ago, well, I guess we're still in December. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, I squatted 700 at your house.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big lifetime. There's numbers that you get in your head. And again, strength is relative. And I'm not going to sit here and, I don't know what the word would be, but like tell anybody like, oh, if you don't do this, you don't do that, you're not strong. Like, man, genetics play a big role in strength. Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of people who've trained smart and trained consistently, and like, I feel like my granny used to say this, like, God bless them. Like, God bless them. They just ain't gonna bench 400. It just ain't gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like you talk about a lot. Like you're right knocking on that door of like that 402 in competition,
right? And
like you have it. Like it's in you. It's there. That's an achievable goal for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is 500 achievable goal for you? I don't know.
I don't know.
And again, it's not a lack of your desire or work ethic or commitment or any of those things. It's just a lack of, there's genetic limitations based on, what God gave you when you came out. So for me, 700 was a huge goal for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been a great squatter. My first powerlifting meet ever, I deadlifted I don't know what the kilo was, 620 something or 630, whatever.
622, 633.
Something like that. And I only squatted like 492.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Now, now I've been in it longer. It is common, but it's like, man, like what a terrible discrepancy for a strength coach, quote unquote. So, I would always said, I want to close that gap. I want to get to a place where, because, Donnie Thompson talks about that a lot, where he's like, really good power lifters should be able to squat more than they deadlift because you have more potential to squat heavier than you do deadlift heavy, in his opinion, because you have the negative, right? Yeah. You can adjust, you can load up, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, okay, well, I want to reach that level of strength where I can actually do that. And so that would be, I've pulled 666 in a meet on a stiff bar. I've done, I don't know, off a block or whatever, 670. I've done 7 something at a strongman on axle and tires. So, I mean, whatever. Let's say I'm a high 600-pound deadlifter if everything's firing well. So more than that, which would be 700. I did it. Well, I hurt for like, God bless America, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Not injured.
Your bones hurt, dude.
Yeah, your bones hurt.
Yeah.
And like I've heard you talk about that. Heard Dan Bell talk about that. I've heard, Finn, Cam, my friends who are super, you guys are crazy strong. And again, people who, if you just take a step back and look at like strength across the world, like you guys are elite of the elite of the elite of the elite. It's again, when you live in it, like I get to come over here and work out with you guys and hang out with you guys all the time. It seems like just a normal thing, but it's not. It's like when you train with pro athletes. I'd see a wide receiver sit down in fat bar, bench press 405 as a wide receiver, 190-pound guy. And I'm just like, oh, cool, good job. Like, holy shit, like that's wild,
right?
This is a guy who even power lifts. He's a football player. And so anyway, so for me though, I had never, I don't think, done an attempt where it was that line of if one thing goes wrong, I'm fucked, for lack of a better word, right? I mean, you can talk about this all day, right? I'm literally preaching to the choir, but other people listen, maybe you haven't had this experience. And I lifted some heavy weight, but I had never had a lift like that where literally, if you weren't in my face yelling as loud as you were, if you were yelling a decibel less, I might not have got that squat. Right, and that would have been bad. So I did it, and I hurt for 2 or 3 weeks, and it was the first time in my life that I racked a weight, and I didn't want to do more. Normally, when I lift heavy weight, I put it down, I'm fired. Oh, I racked that, and I was just like, wow, man.
I'm retired.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to know what 750 feels like or 8. Like, even if I might not be able to do it. I'm 37, right? It's not like I'm young. It's, I know there's some very strong people hit their like kind of max strength in that mid 30s ish. So am I on the backside of that? I don't know. The point is, I for the first time didn't have this like I don't care what happens to me desire to find out. And again, I think you've seen me train a lot. I don't think it's lack of commitment or desire on my part. I've been lifting since I was 14. I lift all over the world, rain, shine, doesn't matter where I'm at. It's just that particular goal for me. I was just like, wow, like, okay, I did it and I'm good. It was my Everest. Like, there's no mountain taller for me.
Yeah.
So the next thing is, okay, well, what do you do? Well, I've done strongman. I'm never going to be a great strongman competitor because I'm not going to be 400 pounds. I mean, I could be. I don't want to be. I have no desire to be 420 or 440 or whatever it takes to do that sport to that level. So the point is, the only thing left in the strength game for me is to switch to that like actual bodybuilding side. Getting lean, still being big, the discipline of the diet, the discipline of nutrition, and sorting that out. I've done one bodybuilding show a long time ago. It was a all natural show. I got down to like 217. And what's crazy is when I look at those pictures, I'm like, Jacob, you look effing terrible. You show someone else, they're like, oh my gosh, you're so jacked and so ripped. And I'm just like, no, I'm not. Oh,
Felt so small.
Terrible. And I guess, again, for most people, they would be like, yeah, that's great. For me, I was like, yeah, I was lean, but I wasn't that extra crazy shredded, A, and then B, I was small. I was. So I was like, now that I'm older, I have a lot more muscle, I have a lot more strength. Let's just kind of see what I can do with that. And it's tough. I mean, it's not easy. I've been kind of working myself towards it, and I've been waiting for a window of time where I'm home in one place long enough to do it. That's the other key. Because when I travel, I don't necessarily have control over my diet. It doesn't mean I can't eat well, but I have to be able to eat very specifically, lower sodium and this and you know what I mean? I can't control some of that when you travel.
You get what you get.
I can get grilled chicken at a restaurant, but I don't know what they cooked it with. If you're in Africa, I'm like, hey, can I have new oil? They're going to be like, what are you even talking about?
Right.
Like, we killed this thing this morning. Like I don't know. Here it is. Like, eat it or not. Yeah. I don't care. So, and then there's also just culturally, like, you don't want to be rude. Like, you go to someone's house. And anyway. So, yeah. So this is finally kind of the stars of a line. I think I'm going to be here for a few months in terms of in town. And like, hey, let's do it. Let's go for it. So, I've been working self towards it. I'm leanish. I'm not for sure lean, but I'm not fat at this point. And
I'm fat.
With a PH or an F?
2 Fs, maybe 3. Fat.
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 We've been watching, by the way, the Santa Claus movies with Tim Allen.
Yeah.
Because Jax was sick this week, and you're flipping through Disney, and whatever happens to catch his eye that he hasn't seen, you're like, let's watch it, because you get tired of seeing the same stuff over and over as a parent. And so anyway, we've been watching it, and like his transitions in the movies are hilarious. As he like becomes Santa Claus, like he wakes up with a gut and this and that. And anyway, it's pretty funny. So that's what's happening to you.
I didn't wake up with a gut. I earned a gut. Oh boy, she's gonna have to wait. But yeah, so yeah, you've been pretty good on the diet lately.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that what I've been doing in terms of prep and all that kind of stuff is leading up to it is let's get into a rhythm in terms of food. Let's get into a rhythm in terms of working out, starting to do your cardio regularly, all that good stuff. And then on the diet side, like let's just work it to you're eating consistently and you're eating well most of the time. Mm-hmm. Like Christmas Day, I didn't think twice about what I ate.
Yeah.
Now at the same time, I also, because when you start eating better, it's harder to eat a mass amount of food because you're eating smaller portions usually, especially like on a bodybuilding where you're trying to eat 4 or 5 times a day. Mm-hmm. So even at Christmas, I did eat whatever I wanted, but I still didn't eat a lot of food, comparatively speaking, because I was full. My stomach's just used to eating smaller portions. And so it's good. I mean, it puts me into a place where starting prep, I'm not like starving because I've drastically shifted my diet. So I think that's good. And, for me, bodybuilding in any capacity is very similar to powerlifting in that the longer you do it, the better you get at it. So this being the first time I've actually tried to do this in like 10 years, I know it won't be the best I'm capable of. It'll be the best. I'll give it the best effort I can do. But I'm saying in terms of like what's the best shape Jacob can be in. It shouldn't be in April. It should be in a year or 2 or 3 when I've done this for
Yeah.
a few seasons. Right? You get leaner and you figure
Yep.
stuff out.
Get better.
Whatever.
Yep.
So, but yeah, for me, it's I need something to train for. It's funny. I was listening to a podcast with Arnold. It's a Smartless podcast. I've talked to you about that before. Three Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes do it. They're all good friends, and they get incredible guests. I don't know how. I mean, I guess between the three of them, they don't ever tell the other two who the guest is. It's like each person's job each week to bring a guest.
That's cool.
And so they have like a little intro segment, and they try to like guess who it is based on some things that they tell them. And anyway, they had Arnold on. And one of the things they ask him is, how do you train? And when Luol lived in L.A., we lived across the hill from Arnold. And I'm not saying like a stone's throw, like this is in Brentwood. So we were up on top of kind of this like mountain ridge, going all the way down the mountain up the other side was Arnold's house. Like I could see it from Luol's balcony. Like if I had binoculars, I could go out, look out there and see Arnold. And he would do this. This was in 2015, 16. He would do it then, and he still does it now. He rides his bike from his house down to Gold's Gym. Venice is like, I don't know, on a bike it's probably 40 minutes away. In a car it's like 15.
Yeah.
He ride it down. His security follows him in a Suburban. If he ever gets too tired or the weather's bad, they just put the bike in the back and he just hops in and goes. He works out at Gold's Gym, and then he rides his bike back. And that's really hard because it's straight uphill the whole way back. And Arnold was saying that he still does that. And they just said, well, why do you train so intensely? You're like 70 or whatever he does,
Right.
And he said, I don't train intensely. And they're like, what are you talking about? You basically ride a bike for, an hour and a half a day, and you lift weights for an hour a day, and you have no reason to do it. You're not even really doing movies anymore. You're not competing. He's like, no, when I trained for bodybuilding, that was intense. And his point that he was making was when I had something to train for, then I trained intense. If I had a movie role, if I had a competition, then I trained intense. This isn't intense training. This is because I like to do it. And I think that's how I am, in that most people look at me and say, oh, well, Jacob, what you've been doing is intense. I'm like, no.
Show up.
I'd get the job done, and I like,
Punch that ticket.
yeah, and I take care of myself and all that. But it's for sure not the same as I have to be on stage in April. There's going to be pictures of me. And I don't give a shit about anybody else and what they think about it. I really don't, aside from a few people, my wife, you, a few other people. But I'm saying, like, it's just a commitment to myself. Jacob, can you step on stage and say you did the best you did? Mm-hmm. When you're doing your cardio and you're supposed to do 15 minutes, do you stop at 12? Like, no, you don't. You go to 15, you go to 16, you push it, right? If you're doing those sets and, it's your fifth set of shoulder raises and you're just dying, like, do you do that extra couple of reps? Yeah, you do, because it's a commitment to yourself. And that is something that I think is important in life for me. I would argue that it should be important for a lot of people. I think self-respect and self-discipline get you pretty far in life. Mm-hmm. And this is a way that cultivates. And that's another thing that Arnold talked about. They said, how did you become, the highest paid actor in the world? At one point he was making $20 million a movie. And the guy didn't even speak English as his first language, right? Yeah. And, and then he became the governor of not only the most populated state in America, but the 5th largest economy in the world. Think about that. That's how big California's economy is. 5th largest economy in the world. This guy became the governor of it. And he said, I had the same principles I applied to bodybuilding I applied to there. Mm-hmm. You set out a plan, you have a vision, and then you freaking get your butt to work. You get up, you get on it, you work it, you figure out here's what works, here doesn't work. You invite people around to help you who you don't know. He talked a lot about how Frank Zane helped him with the nutrition when he came to America, and how Franco Columbo pushed him in the gym. And he is really interesting. Arnold said on that podcast, he's like, people call me a self-made man. I'm the American dream. He said, I am the American dream. I wouldn't have anything if it wasn't for America, but I'm not self-made. He even talked about when he first came here. I mean, you guys could just go listen to the podcast, I guess, but if you want to skip it. He talked about when he first came here about how, he didn't know what Thanksgiving was. He never had Thanksgiving. They don't have it. He didn't have it in Austria. So his first Thanksgiving, someone at the gym like, hey, what are you doing for Thanksgiving tomorrow? He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Didn't speak English at that point. And he had a friend who was a photographer who spoke German and English and translated for him. And he said, why don't you come to my house? He had Thanksgiving dinner at his house. And then everybody at the gym figured out that he was like, because you see people working out, you don't really talk to him, that he didn't even speak English. He said the next day at his house, people from the gym brought chairs, pillows, a bed, a black and white TV. Like, they furnished his apartment for him. Like, he's like, the generosity that I experienced here, not just he's like in America specifically, obviously that's what he's talking about, but his point being is like, it wasn't me. I did the work, yes, but I had a lot of help. Joe Weider brought me here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had all this help of people along the way. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be who I am.
Right.
And I'm getting off, obviously, on a tangent here. But the point being is that's kind of how I view this competition. Like, A, it's important for me to do. B, I'm for sure not doing it by myself. Alicia has to do a lot of work. She has to prep. You guys have to do a lot of work and put up with me. And when I'm not squatting, heavy and I'm over there dicking around and, whatever the case may be.
That's what you're doing over there.
you know,
Dicking around.
and it's not any different than when you're in meet prep, right? Like you and Cameron meet prep. If I'm working out, it's not about me that night. It's about what you guys need to do.
Right.
I'm spotting, I'm lifting, I'm whatever the case may be. So anyway, it's a good thing to do for me personally. I think everybody should challenge themselves in some way. It's interesting to me, and I'm gonna get after it.
Good. Excited to see the progress, buddy. Be good to see you on stage.
Yeah, for sure. Get jacked out of my mind.
Yeah. Be on the other end of it. Because usually it's me and Cam competing all the time. So now it'd be nice to see you, strive towards your goal. And we'll kind of all be competing at the same time.
Yeah.
Somewhat. Obviously different stages, but it'll be a good atmosphere.
But they all suck in different ways.
They do. Yeah.
I mean, I'll tell you this. A year of not powerlifting for the first time since 2000. Man, when did I first start really? Man, probably since I was 14. I mean, I always lifted heavy for football and all that. So, first time in a long time that I'm not exclusively focusing on big lifts. It's amazing how your body changes in terms of how you feel, but it's amazing the things you have to deal with that you didn't have to deal with when you're powerlifting, and then vice versa.
Yeah.
So, anyway, we can talk about that in another episode, but it is interesting.
Yeah, we got to bring us in for landing. It's 4:00, buddy.
Time to squat.
Yeah, we could probably do another half hour on this stuff, but we will finish this same topic of information next week. News resolutions for me, what Jacob's plan is going forward. Maybe he'll have a show picked out he'll tell us about, and we'll go forward with that. So we're always brought to you by SubZeroPlunge.com. Code BEBETTER at checkout. My brother is getting into saunas in 2024, so if you're looking for a sauna, you don't like the cold, you like the hot, he's going to have an option for you. And also, if you do like the cold, he has inflatable tubs and ceramic tubs. Code BEBETTER gets you discount. And also, if you want to reach out to me, I can get them shipped to your house directly for a discount. Kallas Barbell Apparel coming out with these flannels. If you're watching on YouTube, black and gray and red and black flannels with the leather patch with the skull coming out soon. BEBETTER Apparel on there as well. Best hoodies I've ever worn are the newest ones that came out, the heavyweight ones, the new logo. And the Fitness Challenge, 2024 Fitness Challenge starts in 3 days. So if you're listening to this and it's almost 2024, or it is, get on it. We're accepting, not applications, sign-ups for the next few days, and then we're going to shut her down. So if you want to get into it, you're going to have 6 weeks of training built by Jacob, coached by me and Alicia, and then you're going to have a nutrition consult, goal setting, and an ideal day of eating by Nikki RRD. It's the best deal you'll get, the best way to kick off 2024. If fitness is on your mind, let us help you. Also, we also do templates. We do 3 for $99 or 1 for $39.99, and then our custom training, which is our bread and butter at BEBETTER Coaching. If you're interested in that, we have a team of coaches ready to train you. That's all I got, buddy.
I was just going to say this, I'm going to start logging my training
that's right.
in TrueCoach. So that'll be a template that's available. If you want to kind of do what I'm doing, if this idea of like bodybuilding is something you're interested in, you can literally do exactly what I'm doing. I'm not saying I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm just saying that if you want to go through what I'm going through and see what happens, then go for it. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't think it would work. I've been training for a long time. So I have a pretty good idea about what I'm doing. But the point is if you say, I'm kind of curious of what it would take, then I'm going to be putting it on there. You can run it as a template. So it's be $40 a month. And I'll coach it. I mean, I'm just giving you feedback on your form, etc. And then I think maybe you and Cam should do something similar for your meet prep. And I think it's always good to people are curious about what you're doing. Well, then put your money where your mouth is.
Yep.
Sign up and do it with me. You don't have to guess anymore.
Yeah, it's a good thought. Give you the exact same plan.
You literally do what I'm doing and see how it works for you. And that's why we do a lot of custom, because there's changes and stuff that need to be made. But there are a lot of times you've done it, I've done it, where you've ran other people's programs just to see what it's about.
Yep.
How do you respond and how do you feel? And it's really good if you don't have something picked out but you want to change it up.
I agree. All right, let's go squat.
Do it.
Be better.